Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drama Surgery Podcast. In this episode, I am continuing on my review of ABO Desire. It is a Chinese BL that is currently airing as of the time of this recording. We are currently on episode 5, and if you've not watched my previous review of the previous episodes, you should check that out. I've been following this back to back. So, yeah. We are on episode 5 and it's just getting better and better, honestly. Like, I am obsessed. Like, I don't know what to do with myself during the week as I wait for Saturday to come so I can watch this and just like scream into my pillow. It is that good and I love it so much. I will not take any criticism about this show. I refuse. So yeah, let's talk about it. This week aired episode 5, and the very first thing we see is Gaozu injecting himself with inhibitors, right? Again, oh gosh, like the joy of just seeing that, and seeing him be so downtrodden and sad and pathetic is beautiful to me. It's just like, this is like, this is heavenly, guys. But yeah, Gaozu is willing to hurt himself and risk his health just to be able to be near Shenwen. And if that is not yearning, if that is not, the quintessential Omega, but yeah, that's kind of where we start off. Right after that, we get Sheng-you and Hwa-young still in their honeymoon phase. And again, it's really just Sheng-yu that is in his honeymoon phase. Honestly, Hwa-young is playing a whole different game. Like, he's on a different level. And like I said in my past episode reviews, like, I can't even be mad at Hwa-young because the level of effort it goes to be this manipulative. You can't even hate because it's that bad, right? Like, he's a lunatic. You recognize the lunatic and you just have to move on. There's really nothing. You can't save Sheng-yu in this. Like, he's unfortunately stuck with this guy, right? The highlight in episode 5 for those two is that Hwa-young is pretending to go into heat, pretending like he has this disorder and everything, and he's basically almost copying exactly what Gaozu's life is. Like, he's living Gaozu's life in like a different world. Like, Sheng-yu thinks he's a peaceful Omega that is suffering from pheromone disorder. That is Gaozu to a T. He even uses Gaozu's sister, in this whole thing. So, like, he studied Gaozu. Gaozu is almost like the blueprint for his life and what he's emulating, right? He's pretending that he's going through this and he disappears, right? Just to get Sheng-yu, like, worried about him. And Sheng-yu does become really worried. Like, he goes crazy and that's when him and like Shen Wenlang get into it, right? Because again, Shen Wenlang does not care about any of these people. Like, he does not care for Sheng-yu and he does not care really for his friend Hwa-young. Like, he thinks Hwa-young is insane. Like, he thinks Hwa-young is a lunatic. I agree. Hwa-young is not sane. And he just dislikes Sheng-yu, right? But it's like a alpha to alpha dislike kind of thing. They have S tier alphas, and I think that's just where his dislike comes from. He just, anybody that's on his level pisses him off because he's used to like being at the top, and I think that's just it for him. He's just someone that has his nose up in the air, right? In terms of like, he looks down on everybody. So that's his own issue with Sheng-yu. But they get into this whole thing, right? And Sheng-yu is clearly distraught about the fact that Hwa-young is missing, right? Obviously, Hwa-young is pretending this whole time, and it's funny because in the scene where we have the private investigator that is following Shen Wenlang as he goes to the hotel where Hwa-young is, those maids those cleaning ladies, I mean, the level of gossip, right? The level of detail those ladies went into needs to be studied, because like, I was like, damn, this is like you were talking about some really, really like, out there stuff, right? And Fiona was just incensed about that, right? And I think that that's really the thing that's gonna hit it home for him to like mark Hwa-young, or to try and mark Hwa-young. And I don't even think Hwa-young put those ladies up to it. They were just gossiping so much. Because they also think Hwa-young is an Omega, right? And so Sheng-yu is obviously really worried and he is distraught about Hwa Young, I will say that he falls in love with Hwa Young very quickly, and I don't know if I buy that in terms of that, like, he is not any different from any of his past exes, other than the fact that he's actually an enigma. But from Sheng-yu's point of view, there's no real reason for him to like Hwa Young as much as he does at this moment, right? So it's, I find it interesting though that he's so in love with him already, right? But yeah, anyways, it's funny because Hwa Young that is busy just like lounging and beating people up in his hotel room. He tells Sherman Lang that, like, who told you to be studious? Who told you to like take your job seriously? Tell him where I am at. Like, do not try and gatekeep that information. It's just so funny to me that, like, he's like, did you release the information like you were supposed to? And Sherman Lang is just so done. And it's funny in that scene where Sherman Lang is, and I don't know why Sherman Lang felt that he should divulge this information, but he tells Hwa Young about the fact that, like, they get at it, like him and Sheng-you, like, they fight it out, right? And Hwa Young is like, oh yeah, my baby is like so volatile sometimes, right? And he's like praising Sheng-yu for fighting, but then I think he thinks about him. He's like, wait, did you hit him back? And it's also funny to me because it's like, my baby can hit you, my love can basically beat you to a pulp, but you cannot touch him. You have to take it. And Sherman Lang is like, bro, what? It's just funny to me because I feel like Sherman Lang is both one of the most like relatable characters, despite him not being relatable, because his reactions to everything is just like, he's just so done with everything. The only person that he remotely even cares about, and him and like Hwa Young share this like trait, but the only person he remotely cares about is Gao Tu, right? And that, I mean, goes with Hwa Young. Hwa Young only really cares about Sheng-yu, and so the way they work is kind of oriented towards that. I will say that Hwa Young deals with it differently. He's willing to like romance, he's willing to do all these things with Sheng-yu, but Sherman Lang does not care. And I mean, Sherman Lang's relationship with Gao Tu is something that's existed already, and so their dynamic is something that they would have to change first, right? But still, it's just funny to me how Sherman Lang is always just done with Hwa Young and Sheng-yu and their drama. He just wants everything done, and he would not be doing this if not because Hwa Young is one of his shareholders, and he owes him for that, right? But yeah, that's just so funny that like Hwa Young is painting this whole picture that's just fake. And it's just hilarious. But yeah, moving on to Gaotu and Sherman Lang. I think we got a little bit more about them this episode. At least we got a little more seeing Sherman Lang care for Gaotu a bit, right? It's very obvious to me that Sherman Lang is just jealous. He's a jealous person by nature, right? And everything he does reflects that. His treatment of Gato also reflects that. I think to him Gato is, but again Gato also technically has this omega, quote and unquote, that he's involved with. But for Sherman, like, he just cannot like accept that fact, or that he that just there's a world where Gato is not somebody that is tied to him, right? And so when Gato is sick or anything, he's always like thinking, oh, he spent time with Omega, and for him it's like just an affront, because how dare Gaotu have a life outside him, right? And it's just so funny to me that I don't think he even understands that that's what is happening, because from when they were a lot younger in school, right, it was clear that Gaotu was someone that was always there with him, and served him kind of, right? And he got used to that, and maybe because he's just always liked Gaotu from the very beginning, because obviously, like, we see in the flashback that he actually approached Gaotu first, right, with the paper plane, right? So I think that for him, he just struggles with the idea that Gaotu might have somebody outside of him, or have a life outside of work. Right. And factually, like, he's actually not wrong, because Gaotu is in love with him, right? So he's not wrong to like be delusional about that, because his delusion is real, but his delusion just really comes from the fact that he's just so privileged, really, right? But yeah, I find it interesting that there's a moment where the two colleagues in their office, and by the way, I have to say the gossips in Shemelang's company and Sheng-yu's company need to meet because the two of them, or the two sides, are always just gossiping, right? And they can meet and gossip together, right? There's more tea if they like just come together. But there's a scene where the two ladies in Shenlang's office are talking about how like Sheng-Lang is very like sensitive, right? He doesn't like omegas, right? And he doesn't even like take food or anything from anybody. He only drinks what Gaotu makes. Um and that was when I was just like, yeah, I can see it. Like I can see what is that. It's not a bond, but there's just something there, and clearly it's enough for Gaotu to keep hovering around him, right? So I do believe that Shenlang likes Gaotu, right? And there's even a scene, right, that like drew it up for me. Or two scenes. The first one is during the fight when Sheng-yu and Shenlang are just releasing like pheromones, right? And they're like, it's bad. Like everybody in the office is like breaking down because of this, right? Gaotu comes in between them. And I mean, normally in like the theory of how pheromones work and, just like alphas versus omegas, he shouldn't, like Gato should not be able to handle that, but I think his inhibitors help him in that sense, that he's able to kind of withstand that, right? But he's still like something that is affecting him. You can see that he's visibly shaken by this, right? But there's that moment where he comes between them as they're fighting, and he tells Shenlang to rein in his pheromones, and like he's kind of bossy about it, right? But Shenlang listens. Like he listens immediately, and it was just like, oh, okay. So like I feel like Gato has this power he doesn't even know about. Like he has more power than he thinks. Like he can walk Shenlang like a dog if he tries hard enough. But yeah, that was the first scene. The other scene was seeing how he just like cared for Gato when he was like on the hospital bed, right? Like he was worried about him. He also mentioned it at one point as he's like working with the assistant, like Hwa Young's assistant, where he mentions that like they almost hurt his secretary, right? And so he's talking about Gaotu. So there are moments where you see that his frame of reference always includes Gaotu to an extent. And that just tells me, sorry, for someone that like has everything, like he's not supposed to like generally just care about anything. You can tell that Gaotu is that one exception to that. And I just love that. And I mean, Shenlang is problematic, but honestly, he's my favorite character. Like Shenlang and Gaotu are like my thing, right? I love them a lot. I find Shenlang like the actor very charismatic. So even when he's been a dick, like I enjoy it. Like I enjoy his performance so much, right? So I am kind of an apologist for him, right? Because I get like his upbringing, right? And I mean, they don't talk about it. You just know that he hates omegas. I've done some research, and this is a spoiler for anyone who does not want to hear this. Skip like 20 seconds into this, but basically like it's all comes down to his omega dad, right? And his dad relationship with his like alpha dad, right? So his parents are what is like driving how he thinks about omegas, right? So yeah, I just find him like, I don't know, this is something about him that like is magnetic, and I am watching honestly for him and Gal too in this. Not that I don't love like Hwa Young and Sheng-yu, but this is more traditional omegaverse, if that makes sense. So just seeing it play out on screen is very interesting to me. But yeah, another thing I really liked was when like at the hospital you see how the doctor, like Gato's doctor, comes in and he's like, oh, are you that alpha that ate omega sense? And he just like tears one into him, like he just like goes off and starts like dragging Shenlang, and I just love that. Shenlang is cool. It's like, what the hell is this guy saying, right? But I just like that. He said enough that like if they had HIPAA, I don't know if they have HIPAA over there. It's not a HIPAA violation, but still enough to like insult Shenlang and read into filth. So I really like that scene as well. So this was actually a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I could sit down and talk about Gaotu and Shenlang all day and all night because I love them so much and I want more. Like I hope people have told me that they don't actually have a lot of story in the novel because this is based on a novel. So I hope that they can incorporate a little more, and we get to see a little bit more of them. That's my wish. Like we just get more story about them right in this. So yeah, I am just loving this, guys. I have no real um negative things to say about it. Even though there are moments where I'm like, it could be better, but I just don't care. I just love it so much. So yeah, that's really all I have in this episode. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week. Have a good one. Bye.